Hi everyone, my name is Abdeljad Muzahir, and this is my portfolio video for COMP 351, Ethics in Computing and Information Systems at Athabasca University. For this assignment, I chose to look at facial recognition technology, specifically the ethical problems that come up when this kind of AI is used to identify people in the real world. Over the next few minutes, I will walk you through what the technology actually does, a case from Canada, the bias problem, and the regulatory response, and where I personally stand on all of this. So, what is facial recognition technology? So let's start with the basics. Facial recognition technology, or FRT, is a system that takes a photo of a person's face and tries to match it against a database of other photos. The way it works is pretty straightforward. First, the system scrapes images from public sources, things like social media profiles and news sites. Then it converts each face into what's called a biometric vector, which is basically a numerical fingerprint of that face. When someone uploads a query photo, the system compares it against all those stored fingerprints and returns a list of possible matches. Now, here is the part that become a real problem. A company called Clearview AI built one of the largest databases of this kind, over 3 billion images. And they did it without asking anyone for permission. The people in those photos had no idea their faces were being used this way. And there is a major accuracy issue too. Research by Boulamwini and Gibro in 2018, the gender shade study found that these systems work very well for lighter skinned men, with error rate under 1%. But for darker skinned women, the error rate shot up to almost 35%. That's a massive gap, and as you will see, it has real consequences. Let me walk you through the Clearview AI case because it's a good example of how all these problems show up in the real world. Clearview AI collected those 3 billion images by scraping Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and other public sites without any consent, without any notification, and without any legal basis to do so under Canadian law. They then sold access to that database to over 600 law enforcement agencies in Canada and the United States. That's including the RCMP. Officers could upload a photo of a suspect and get back a list of possible identities. When Canadian privacy commissioners found out about this, they launched a joint investigation across 4 provinces. Their conclusion was clear. What Clearview was doing is mass surveillance and it's illegal. The federal privacy commissioner, Daniel Therine, said exactly that quote. What Clearview does is mass surveillance and it's illegal. The commissioners ordered Clearview to stop collecting Canadian images, delete the data that they already had, and shut down their Canadian operations. This case is really important because it shows that even when technology is powerful and law enforcement find it useful, that doesn't mean it gets to ignore the law. Now, I want you to dig into the bias problem a bit more, because this is where the ethical issues get really serious. The bar chart on this slide shows the error rate from the gender shade study. On the left, you can see that the lighter skinned male are misidentified less than 1% of the time. But as you move to the right, the error rate keeps climbing: 3.4% for lighter skinned females, 12% for darker skinned males, and 34.7% for darker skinned females. These aren't just numbers, they translate directly into wrongful arrests. As of 2026, the Federation of American Scientists reported at least 9 documented wrongful arrests in the USA, linked to FRT misidentification, and almost all of them involved black individuals. One person spent 17 months in prison before being cleared. The reason this bias exists comes down to the training data. The systems were trained on datasets that overrepresent lighter skinned people, so the models are simply better at recognizing faces that look like most of the training examples. Add to that the fact that the reference images in the database are usually nice, well lit social media photos, while police are querying the system with grainy surveillance footage. And you end up with a system that being asked to do something, it's not reliable to enough to do so. So, what are governments doing about all this? The answer is not enough and not fast enough. The biggest regulatory step so far is the European Union AI Act, which came into force in 2024. It actually bans the kind of database scrapping that Clearview AI did, scrapping faces from the internet without consent. It also bans real time facial recognition in public spaces for law enforcement, with some exceptions. But here's the problem: those exceptions are so broad that civil society groups describe them as loopholes, and Clearview AI has raked up over 50 million euros in European fines and is still operating in the USA. So the law exists, but enforcement is another story. In the USA, there is no federal law at all. There is a patchwork of state level rules, but nothing consistent, and the wrongful arrest cases are still accumulating. The United Kingdom is actually going into the opposite direction. The Metropolitan Police have been actively expanding live facial recognition cameras in London, even after court ruled the practice unlawful. As of 2025, they have permanent cameras running in parts of South London with no specific legislation authorizing it. The surveillance infrastructure is growing fast than the rule that are supposed to govern it. So, where do I stand on all of this? I think facial recognition technology has some legitimate uses. It has helped identify missing children, locate trafficking suspects, and assist in serious criminal investigations. Those benefits are real, and I don't want to dismiss them. But the way this technology has been deployed is ethically wrong. The people who are most likely to be wrongfully identified, members of racialized communities, are already the most vulnerable in interactions with law enforcement. The people whose photos were collected without consent, literally anyone who's ever posted a selfie online, were given no choice, and the vendors are making money from all of this, face it, very little accountability. I believe FRT should only be used in law enforcement if three conditions are met. First, mandatory independent audits that publicly report how accurate the system is for different demographic groups. Second, a strict legal requirement that an FRT match is treated as a lead, not proof, meaning you need corroborating evidence before you can arrest someone. And third, if your biometric data was queried as a part of an investigation, you have a right to know. Right now, none of these conditions are consistently in place anywhere in the world. The Union Europe AI Act is a start, but its exceptions tell you that the governance work is far from finished. In conclusion, facial recognition technology is a powerful tool that has real benefits, but it carries serious ethical risks that haven't been adequately addressed. The accuracy disparities documents in the gender shades study have produced documented real world harm. The Clearview AI case showed us that Canadian law can be violated at scale and that privacy commissioners do have something to say about it. And the global regulatory picture shows us that building adequate governance for this kind of AI is an ongoing challenge that no jurisdiction has fully solved it yet. Thank you for watching. My full portfolio, including all sources and the reference list, is in the accompanying Word document for this assignment. And have a nice day.